Hi, this video is part of my complete Helm course. The link is in the description of this video, so make sure to give a thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss any updates, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's get started. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, I want to give you an introduction to Go templating. A little bit later on in the course, we have a section that is dedicated exclusively to exploring Go templating in much more details, but it definitely makes sense that we have a brief introduction here since we are going through the entire process of creating, packaging, and publishing our charts. You will hardly ever, if ever, develop a chart without using Go templating. For that, I'm going to create a new directory here. So I'm at the top level. I have the creating charts and the setting values directory so far. I'm just going to create another directory here and I'm going to say intro Go templating like so. Let's then change into this directory, and I am creating a new directory here because I would like to create a very simple Helm chart for us to see the effects of Go templating whenever we run the Helm template command. So let's just create here the basic files for a chart. That's going to be the chart.yaml and the values.yaml. And let's have a look here. We have now both files, and let's also make a directory templates like so. So that here the templates will host our actual templates that will be output and generated by the Helm template command. We do need to add some information to the chart.yaml file. So let's just open here the folder in our browser. Let's open the file, and what we need to inform here is the API version. That's going to be v2. We also need to add the chart version, so that's going to be version, and that's going to be 0.1.0. We can also add the app version, and that's just going to be, I'm just going to say here 0.1.0. This doesn't really matter because our chart is not going to deploy any application. I just want to use this as a sandbox chart so that we can practice a little bit and see the impact of using different Go constructs. We also need to provide a name for our chart, and the name here will just be intro-go-templating. Alright, so this is enough here. If we now come back to the terminal, we clear the screen here and we run helm template and then a dot here for the current directory. We get a result back. It is a successful command. You can see here with the green arrow, the exit code was 0. It just didn't generate anything because we don't have any file inside of our templates. So let's then create a new file here. We're just going to call this sandbox.yaml, right? So it doesn't really matter. The name here doesn't really matter. And all we would like to do is, let's say test, and we're going to set to true like so. So the moment now we run our Helm template, we will get the result back, right? So perfect. Helm is able to identify this entire directory here as a Helm chart, and it is able to identify within the templates our sandbox.yaml file and output its result here on the screen. Great. Let's then clear the screen here. I will also remove the sidebar here so we have a little bit more space. We don't need the chart.yaml file anymore. And the sandbox.yaml now contains a single line here. Let's also open our value.yaml. So I'm going to open with Visual Studio Code values.yaml. That's just going to open a new file here for me. So now we can start adding some default values to the values.yaml, and we can start working with this inside of our sandbox.yaml file. The first important syntax of Go template is the double curly brackets. So this is really what will delimit certain actions or certain templates inside of your YAML file. This will then be interpreted via the Go templating, and the output of this expression, whatever is between these two curly brackets here, will then be in the final generated YAML file. So if we were to come here and simply say .values.test here, and if we were to come now to our values.yaml file and create a new property here, and let's say I am a string, for example, let's just save that, come back to the terminal, let's clear the screen and run our Helm template command, and you will see that now the results are interpolated here. So this is the most basic construct you will come across in Go templating. And what it's basically doing, it's saying, hey, go fetch the value of this expression here. As it turns out, the expression is referring to the values that are coming via either our values.yaml file or from the user provided values to override certain configuration parameters. If we wish to add a comment here, we have two possibilities. We can use the traditional YAML comment, I am a YAML comment, and I will remain in the generated template or in the generated YAML. However, we can also use the Go syntax here for comments, and we can then just have certain comments here that will not be included in the generated file. So let's just write here, I am a Go comment, and I will not remain. Right, so now the moment, let's save this here. Let's come to the terminal and let's run our Helm template once again. And you will see that the I am a YAML comment, I will remain in the generated YAML. It is here, it stays in our generated YAML. However, the Go comment here, it has been removed. What has not been removed, however, is the line where this comment is placed. So you will see here that we still have a line, right? And this here might not seem much, but you will come across this situation where you start having white lines quite often, and this can get quite ugly. Right, so let's suppose here that we have a bunch of things. Let's say that we have labels, and then we're going to have here, and I'm just making up an example. So let's say the app label is going to come from the release information. That's going to be the name of the release. And the chart label is going to come from the chart top level object here, and that's going to be the name of the chart. Right, so now let's say here that we start adding a couple of Go comments here. So let's paste it here, and I will say the app label comes from the release. And then we have here another comment. The chart label comes from the chart information. Right, so these are just comments here, but you will also come across situations where you will have conditionals or you will have loops. And in these cases, the lines where these conditionals and these loops, they are defined, they will remain white lines if we don't do anything else about them. So let's save this here. Let's come to the terminal. Let's run the Helm template once again. And as you can see here, it starts popping up with, or it results here in a YAML that has a lot of white lines here. And this can be very hard to read, especially if you are going through very large YAML contents. So one way for us to trim this white space out, to just completely remove it, is to use the very famous leading dash here. Now what the dash does is it removes white space, it trims white space before, if we wish to do here before, or after. Right, so normally you will find before here whenever you are using conditionals, or whenever you are adding a line that is not supposed to be included in the final generated template. Whenever we add this here, we also need to add a space just to make sure. Oops, I selected it. So let's add it here and add a space. If we don't add a space, let's just save this here. You will see that this will give us an error, right? So it's just saying, oops, there has been a parsing error at this line here. So let's come here, let's add a space. And now you will see that once we render this, the white line that was coming from our removed Go comment here, it is simply gone. So now we have a much better flow here, especially if we also remove the white space, or if we trim the white space here at the beginning of the other lines. Let's then save this here. Let's come here. Let's run the Helm template once again. And as you can see, now we get a much better continuity for our content. Trimming spaces and getting indentation right is something that is fairly common and happens fairly often here in Helm Charts. So we do need to be careful about white spaces and indentation in YAML, because YAML is indentation sensitive. So we will be working with all these white space operators here, or this functionality of Go templating quite often when working with Helm Charts.